So, in relation to your question on mental toughness, how does that relate? Well, you don't know how tough you are until you test yourself. And whether it be in two a days or pulling a 2.5 inch hose, that, or doing search and rescue, or just or getting underneath the squat bar to do a heavy set, you know, uh, of 450, 500 pounds, not knowing that you're going to be able to get that last rep, but having the guts to get underneath it and muscle through it, that builds resolve because it's like, okay, I did this before. Now I know it's going to feel like this. And when I start feeling like this, that doesn't mean my tank's empty. And I've always been the guy, and probably I think a lot of people are like this, is like that first bottle it hurts.
Yeah.
But 5 minutes and a cup of water and another bottle, and I'm good to go. Uh, uh, I'm warmed up at that point, and I think that's a lot of it too, just getting warmed up. But you got guys that have never done anything tough, and maybe they went to a fire academy that was a fire academy light, and they didn't have pretty instructors that didn't make them just obscene things, just asinine things that you probably will never do in the fireground. But there's a reason to it. It's just to see if you're going to fold, to see how far you're going to push it. And it's a lot like running, I guess it would be. Running after a while really isn't that physically demanding. Uh, you can compensate and be able to run long distance fairly quick, but it's mentally tough. Can I make the next? Can I push my? How far can I push myself today? It's you against everything else, and I think that's like that. Everything is you got to have something to go off of.
Right.
Otherwise, you die. And so, yeah, back to the physical toughness. I'm a firefighter again, and I'm probably one of the oldest ones where I'm currently working,
Mm-hmm.
and I am still under the barbell. I'm still lifting weights. I started out not where I wanted to be, but I'm getting up there. I'm squatting 450. Now that's not for a single. That's working out. That's 3 sets of 5. I'm overhead pressing 165, and my goal is to get to a 500-pound deadlift before I turn 40. Get there because I'm already at 480.
Yeah,
But
Lee.
uh, you know, I got to be in shape. I got to be ready to pull my weight in the weight of my brother or sister, firefighter. And if I can get in there and pick up that weight, even when I don't want to on some of those tough days, I damn sure can pick them up and drag them out if I need to. And if you're not mentally tough, you're not going to muscle through that. And there's some things that your body just going to allow you to do, even if your mind wants you to do it. So, you need to be strong. You need to be out there in the gear, use the tools that you use regularly, and once you do that, that builds up a resolve in your mind that you're the only limitation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, mental
So
toughness
what?
goes alongside with being physically tough. How far can you push? And that's why we train. That's why we simulate things to see what
Right.
it builds up our uh, our level of confidence. It's a confidence thing. If you've done something hard before, doing something similarly hard that maybe a different type of task, that may intricacies of that task is hard, but the physical and mental parts of it, that you can, as long as I can stay there and stay in the game, I can get through this. It may not look pretty, but I can get through it. So
Right. So obviously in the fire service, not everyone views physical fitness the same. So what was what is your message to people who view that like physical fitness isn't as important as you make it seem? You know what I mean?
that's a rabbit hole question, and I'm not gonna go down it in full, but so the fire service a lot in physicality. We I don't know when, somewhere in the '90s, early 2000s. We became way more important than them, the people that we serve. And when that mentality and that shift happened, we stopped being as aggressive. And aggressive in fire service is it's a very scary word to some. They think you put your head down, run into everything, and not take a calculated risk assessment. being aggressive is what firefighters do. I mean, if somebody's hanging out of a window, we need to be able to go up there and get them out. If somebody's perceived to be inside, go and get them. And the only way you do that is by training and being aggressive. Well, we lost that because we started putting I before them, and we started to fight fires less aggressively. Making it acceptable that if the house burns down, well, insurance is going to rebuild them a new one. No, there's things in there that they may need that are keep that we can save. And how do we know that somebody isn't in there? So it made us soft, and I think as time goes on, if you are of the mentality that you are done, you're happy where you're at, you're just gonna let mediocrity drive you the years. You're gonna have a tendency to let your guard down, and that's all. It's just complacency. It's just being happy with that check, like what we talked about earlier. And there's
Right.
people that are not. It doesn't hurt their feelings to take that check. Anything else they can get without putting forth the effort and earning it. Uh, God wants us to earn a living, period. And we have skills, and we need to go out and earn a living by doing our job and doing it right. It's no different than a carpenter. You hire somebody to frame your house. Do you want them to do it right, or we don't need to put all the nails in there. It'll be all right until we get the sheathing on, and the sheathing will hold it. No, we want to do it right. So I've seen a lot of guys just kind of be happy with where they're at. Yeah, and we don't make as many fires anymore.
Right.
Uh, so, and not just fires, but hey, you go out on a wreck. It's acceptable now in society currently that you got to watch out for everybody. You know, if somebody gets a little hot and overdoes it, we got to pull them from the game. That goes back to the mental toughness and the physical toughness. Is like muscle through it. Somebody else is having a very bad day because
Right.
or you're weak minded or a combination of both. They're going to suffer. And here's the big thing: if we burn their house down and it looks like a total mess, it was a terrible job to them and the bystanders. Man, the fire department came out and did everything they could do. Let's bake them a cake.
Yeah.
We have maybe some benchmarks that we can go by. Anybody that knows what a good scene looks like, a bad scene looks like, can in the back of their mind are saying this was bad, this is terrible. But the public's perception, they couldn't say, or man, that's a bad wreck, drainage ditch, or a creek, and man, there was no way to get them out of there. Well, maybe because we weren't trained up or we were out of shape, we couldn't get down there quick, or they died. So I know I'm kind of going off on a rabbit hole, but I think for the listener that could be listening to this that doesn't know, we got to know where we come from and the mindset and the mentality. So it's easy to fall. Well, all I do is drive the truck. I don't need to be in good shape. Here, or I'm a captain and all I do is QC reports. I don't need to be in shape. Because most of the time they're right, but it's those instances where falls in sick and they got to move over and work in that seat or that capacity. It's like, hope we don't get one today because may go out. You may not be as useful as your longevity shows that. You should be awesome for all the years of service you have, and and you're a liability. So
So kind of switching gears, and it ties into physical fitness, but also like a team aspect. So whenever you were a lieutenant, did you look at your tailboard's um, physicalities to determine what plan or attack that you would take on a fire scene, or did you have the same expectations regardless of that tailboard's physical and mental fitness?
yes and yes. Absolutely. I had the same expectations of everybody. Now, would they be able to live up to the expectation? There were deciding factors. How long have they been on the job, their level of physical fitness, their knowledge. You know, I quote here, I don't have the person who quoted it, but it's this gets thrown around so much in the fire service. It's like your years of tenure, but just listen to this. Longevity does not equal mastery. Longevity does not equal leadership. So
Mm.
on that first sentence, everybody wants the first thing they want to do is tell you how long they've been in the service. That
Yeah.
doesn't fit to me. What I've done or how long I've been in the fire service does not mean nothing to my new department. There are guys there that don't know my capabilities. They don't care about them. And honestly, through disuse, I've lost my edge, and I am on the track to get that back.
Mm.
A lot to prove, not only to them but to myself, and by doing so, it's going to make everybody better. But everybody wants to throw. Well, I've been in the fire service 20 years, okay, and you still can't force a door. You don't maybe not even know where the tools are on the truck. So that longevity does not equal mastery. So I would get guys that have been there a long time, and I think I started developing a reputation of you go out there, you're probably going to train for an hour or two, even on Sunday.
Yeah, yeah. I witnessed that firsthand, even on the holiday.
Yeah, yeah. And it was never punitive. It was never pressure.
Right.
Everybody being on the same page. And the second line of that goes longevity does not equal leadership. And I know you've had a lot of a lot of this is based on leadership, and I think anybody can lead. It doesn't matter if you're a day one employee on the job or if you've been there 30 years. You have something to contribute, and it may be a capacity, but yeah, just because you got bugles doesn't mean you're going to be a great leader. So, back to your question, I've talked about this here recently. It was like it didn't matter if you had been there 20 years, if I didn't feel like you were going to work with our system on our engine, I was taking the nozzle. And if you wanted to fight me for that nozzle, then we're going to go out there and train and come up with our game plan of our response district, and that worked out. New guys, definitely, we're going to train. And once I feel comfortable with them, uh, just doing all the basic things, because that's what gets overlooked. Anybody that's listening, the basics, it's the fundamentals. If you cannot do the fundamentals and not have to almost just not think about them, they should be muscle memory. Then don't stop doing the fundamentals. Those should be every day. A lineman in the NFL that could be 10 years in is still taking blocking practice
Hmm.
before he goes to the next specialty drill. So, and I see that, well, we did that back in the fire academy. We pulled hose the fire academy. We practiced putting our SEBA back on the fire academy. Well, you still need to be doing things change. Your shoulder may be impinged. You may be too fat, and you adjust the straps, and you have your gear on. So yeah, that played a huge role in dictating what and how we operated on scene. I didn't want to put somebody in that position either. To fail. And it's not that it's bad to fail. There's a time to fail and a time not to fail. So I felt really confident my ability, and I wanted to. My game was always to lift everybody else's game up, right? Let's all level up, because if we're all playing equally, man, there ain't much that can stop us. So and I run into some pushback with that with some of the guys, but it's like, prove to me, you know, prove to me that you can do it, and they don't want to put the work in. It was all lip service. So I don't know if
Right.
that's a question.
No,
No,
definitely, definitely, definitely. So, how important was it for you to set expectations and also create an environment so where other firefighters could like thrive?
so I knew that I could lead from early on, and I wanted to, and I'll be honest. I'm being really honest here. Is like there were a lot of guys that were in leadership roles, i.e., lieutenants and captains. Like they suck. Better job than that. I don't know all the responsibilities. I can do as good a job as they can, and I wanted to get off that ambulance. So that was that was extra motivation. I knew that my career was not going to be as long if I stayed in that as a paramedic for a whole lot longer. So that was a driving force for me to promote. It may have been a wrong reason, but that was paired with looking at these guys and saying, I could do that. And I think I could be better than them. And it was that competitive thing again. So I'm sorry, I forgot the question.
About creating or setting
Oh,
expectations and creating an environment where others could thrive.
yeah, I worked with some great officers. I worked with some that weren't so great. Ones that set the expectations and the bars high. And I knew there were a lot of people out there, a lot of officers, a lot of leaders that told you one thing and then did the other. You know, hey, we need a long hour of PT in today. You need to go to PT. And I know we've been harping on PT, but that's just kind of one of the big ones that get, or training, pencil whip training. We need to get our training in for today. And we go out there, and if you were with a pretty good officer, you would go out there and pull the stuff off and talk about it. Uh, and if you were with a shitty officer, you wouldn't even do that. They would pencil whip it in. You may tabletop it a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with that, because that fits into our training too. Table talk,
Hmm.
And if you're with a really good officer, they would actually go out there and train with you, and show you and let you fail and talk about it. They would never point fingers or make you feel like you're an idiot. They'd build you up.
Yeah.
So expectations are. I can write a list of expectations, but if we don't follow up and follow through on those expectations, they mean nothing. I don't show you if I'm not there beside you, working with you, training with you, holding myself as a leader when I was in that position to that same standard, then it's just everybody thinks it's a joke. You know,
Right.
you kind of had those subgroups. You had people that was trying to follow the rules and had a high level of expectations and held their guys to it, and then you had everybody else. And I think I lost some of my guys to, like, man, I wish I was over there because they don't have to do this regularly. They don't have to pull ladders, on a holiday, or
Right.
blowing water, or really detailing their trucks like they should. And it's like, if that's the case, bye. I would rather take somebody that's willing to work and learn, and then it's not that I was always out. Me. I love having a good time. But I wanted to have a good. I could have a lot better time if I knew that all of our bases were covered, and then, man, we could really act out and have a good time. But I wanted to cover everything, and make sure that everybody knew that I wasn't setting these expectations, and I didn't have to follow them myself. I was leading by example. And if I didn't, call me out on it. And I had an engineer that would, you know, and I think you need that person that doesn't always agree with you, So yeah, the bar was set high, but and I say that it wasn't, though. It was what we all should
Right.
be high, because everybody else was performing, or a majority of the crews were underperforming because of piss poor leadership uh, above them, and they held themselves accountable. The complacency set in. They were just there to draw a check, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe it wasn't that we good as we thought we were. Maybe it was just everybody else sucked. And when we showed up, we were at a standard. We were operating at a standard level, and everybody else was just so below. And I say that everybody else, but you know what I mean. The
Yeah.
people that had been doing this forever, knew everything, had all these qualifications, and all this experience. And then when they got on scene, it was like, wow, you've been doing this how long? You know?
Exactly. Exactly. Man, I could just sit here and just listen to you talk all day, but I don't want to hold you up. But I do got two final questions for you. The first one, this is more behind the scenes, something that I haven't seen, but being an officer, how important was it holding other officers accountable? And is that something? How does that take place at y'all setting? Does it happen in meetings? Do you pull them aside, or how does that work?
Yeah, that happened a few times, and it happened with me too. And so I want a disclaimer. It's like, I'm not perfect. I make mistakes. I'm a high idiot. as a good friend of mine. Uh, and I think that's a lot that what drives me because I know I'm way behind everybody else, so I got to work a little harder, a lot harder to stay on par. Uh, so I had been counseled in my career by
Mm-hmm.
officers, people that were at the same rank as me, you know, even as a lieutenant, I've had those difficult conversations. They've had them with me, and whether I agreed with it or not, I had to be receptive. I need to be my I had to be open to constructive criticism.
Right.
By doing so, I think now I know that when I had to do that, or we had to do that as a group collectively, it wasn't a barrage. It's more of a time of, hey, look, you're falling short. And Matthew 8, the Bible says, go to your brother when you have a discrepancy. Don't go and tell the whole world. And there was a lot of people that wanted to go and gripe and complain to everybody else and start rumors. But the best thing you could do is go to that person and make sure before you go there, you go with the right heart. You're not going there to slam them because aha, I got you. Because last time you called me out in front of everybody. Now I'm going to do it to you. That ain't right. And so yeah, there were some instances, and we kept it amongst ourselves because if we, I think it's a lot like what's going on in politics today. Bring politics, but there are two rules, and
Mm-hmm.
uh, if the officers live by one set and hold everybody else to another set of rules, man, that's going to create a lot of disdain. It's gonna, and uh, and I didn't want that. I never wanted that to happen with me or my fellow cohorts. So we would address it one on one, and just get to the bottom. Just be honest. Like, why did you do this? What was your thought process? Do you understand how this is going to make us all look? You know, this is not the way that we perform. This is not good. This is not how an officer conducts business. And as a leader, people are looking up to you, and if they see you acting like this, they're going to want to emulate that. And it's not good. That poisons the water. So you know, we just like to talk, make sure that yeah, it was a mistake. It was a stupid thing that you did, and we'd handle it accordingly.
Right.
It was and a lot of times, just having that difficult conversation was enough. And anybody that's wanting to promote, wanting to be in a leadership role, hell, I mean, you just may be a firefighter that's been there a while, and you need to have this conversation with somebody. But more importantly, to the company level officer, if you have a hard time having difficult conversations with people, the stuff that may keep you up at night, then you may want to reconsider promoting to that position because that is a lot of what you're going to do is have difficult conversations with people, and that's not what. And don't think it's just chewing people. That's not what it's about. The difficult conversation is being rational, being calm, and addressing maybe somebody's failures, somebody's shortcomings, somebody's bad behavior, somebody's going through something at that point. They're not right, and you got to talk to them about it. Those conversations are tough, but they have to be had. You get that guy that has a reputation and as a jerk, and he ends up at your station, and at some point, are you going to let him run all over you and ruin what you have, or are you going to have that conversation and be like, look, I'm going to address the elephant, and they're not going to like it, and you better be ready. But you can't just go attack, because we have flaws ourselves. They're just going to want to get in a fight. You got to talk to them and show them empathy, and show them that you care. And just because they believe things a certain way doesn't mean I have to believe it or see it that way. All I got to do is I need to listen. I need to be
Mm-hmm.
open and give them a voice. A lot of people just want to be heard. A lot of acting out. Is because you had guys that come in with a lot of ambition, and it got squashed.
Right.
Either or their crew told them that they're an idiot or that would never work here, or were not receptive to even letting them try. Now it's just like, you know what? Screw this place. I'm going to get a paycheck regardless. I'm just going to do the bare minimum. And that can go back to why that they're overweight or they're out of shape or that they are performers, because you have somebody that squashed their idea or didn't let them express themselves. We all want a chance to be expressive, to bring something. You have an employee that has some skin in the game, man. You have somebody fire, and that's going to be a great advocate and uh, an ambassador for your department for guys that are coming in. And I think that's what happened. It wasn't easy when some of the things I brought to the table. It was a lot of resistance, but I knew the right thing, so I just kept pushing forward. And I was very well prepared. I didn't offer a bitch about something. I offered a solution.
Mm.
That there's a lot of people that gripe, but it's like, how can we fix this? It's more than just throwing out some ideas. It's like, how can we fix it? If you have a problem that you run into and you don't put the solution out there, then you're just bitching. But when you bring the solution and a whole plan to implement that, and they still reject you, that's going to happen. But if you're prepared, man, you can instill change. And I think some of those guys, they just got squashed. And so the difficult conversation, of redirecting that employee and trying to make them feel like they do have a voice. That you're kind of playing a little bit of a counselor in that position too.
Right.
And you
And
can do the position. You know.
right. And
So
I think it's important you say that too, because whenever someone first starts off, they're just full of ambition, but over the years, it's so easy to get sucked in that cycle to griping or just being unhappy, and a lot of people, they may not even realize it until someone tells them about it.
yes, yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
because it's
So
become a routine. You're blind to it. And I remember somebody that was unhappy at one point in time that was over there doing some bunker gear stuff, and and I seen a lot of ambition, a lot of future in the guy, but he was just having some bad time. Looking at you. And there, into my run, I knew I was unhappy, and I'd always told myself that if my attitude starts to fail, that's something I preached, you know, for a long, long time. Is if I have a bad attitude, I need to get the hell out of here or change it. And my attitude
right,
changed, and my heart, it was a heart thing, man. And that was a big reason why I checked out, because I didn't feel like I was had the passion. I was starting to get grumpy, disgruntled, just losing I had a bad taste in my mouth. And I say this not to bitch and complain about it, but it's like that happens. We're gonna go through those seasons in our lives and our careers where you need a gut check. Not always is it time for a change organization, but sometimes it is. Maybe it's just, you know what? Maybe I need to take some time off, or maybe I need to change shifts, or maybe I need to go and take a training or revigorate. Something has to change.
right.
Look at ourselves before we start putting our fingers.
Exactly. So, leading off with the final question, what message would you tell anyone, regardless of their position or rank, that's stuck in that cycle, the cycle that we're talking about?
Well, I think I can build off what I ended a few seconds ago. Why did you get into this? What was the purpose for getting into this career field in the fire and EMS fire service? Was it strictly fire? Was it to be an engineer for the duration? Was it for the time off? I don't know. Everybody has a different reason. And it really doesn't matter, because it's all about the people we serve. And if you really care about serving them to the fullest, and I don't think everybody does, I think it's acceptable, or over time, it's like, man, you're just going to have a lot of casualties of war. We're not going to save everybody. And no, you're not. But self critique and be honest with yourself, like, how did I do on that call? Whether did I do good enough CPR?
Mm-hmm.
For a lot of years, I thought CPR was such bullshit. And then, because I never seen it walk out of the hospital, you know. But there's a lot that goes into that. But then you uh, have to do CPR on a family member, and they walk out of the hospital 7 days later. Everything is for a purpose, and you need to. It starts with you, accountability. How well do I perform? Let's not stand at the back of the training line and let everybody else go through it. Let me get as many reps as I can, so I can do the best I can. Being honest, actually wanting to to better yourself. So again, I'm getting off track, and I forgot the basic question.
No, it's all right, man. I'm listening. I'm just listening, man. No, for someone who's stuck in that cycle,
Yeah, yeah,
the message to get them out.
that's hard because some people are not salvageable.
Okay.
That is the truth. Some people you're not gonna help. Doesn't mean you're not gonna have a good outside of work relationship with them. It may be that, but it doesn't mean that. But there's some people you can try. You can do everything in the world, and they're not gonna improve. They're not gonna be. They're not gonna want to do it, and you can't put your effort, and you can't get upset with that because that's sucking energy out of you. That can turn you into a bitter person. You got
Mm.
to deal with that the best you can. You got to take mental note of that because that they could be a liability. Uh, but also, there are some of those people that are just they don't have to put the effort I do, and they're still functioning at a high level. They're far and few between. Uh, I always wanted to put my time that were willing to get better. You know, uh, and sometimes you come across guys that have a lot of tenure and time that are willing to do that. I think like you and I, we're always willing to improve. There's a bunch of those guys out there, but there's a lot more slugs out there than that. And I tell you, that's why I always gravitated towards the new hires because I knew that we could really instill uh, instill a whole lot in those folks, especially if they hadn't been at another department and gotten ruined by slugs. Because an officer told me once, if you're around an asshole long enough, you're gonna start smelling.
That's true. That's definitely true.
You get stuck at that stage. If you're not strong-willed, man, you're gonna do what they do, and they're gonna bring you down. So
Hmm.
I would always just try to offer up things, and always kept the table open for suggestions and ideas because somebody may have a really good that guy that was completely cashed out may have a good idea and that's worth contributing. So I just try to focus on people that wanted to be better, that were willing, and some people stay there, and then you got the guys that say that they're willing, they want to train and get better, and then you get them out there and they don't want to, so it's like now you're trying to motivate them, but at the same time you got guys over here on the side that are really wanting to. Do you put all your effort in trying to be a cheerleader, or do you have that difficult conversation after the fact and say, hey, look, you you've been talking 2 weeks about doing extrication training. When we got out there, I couldn't find you. Where were you? You should have been getting more reps in. And then you got the guys that are hogged for reps. That's me. I'm gonna
Yeah.
get as many reps as I can, and you have to kind of say, hey, look, uh, let some of these other guys. So uh, it's a case by case scenario. The company level position is. I warn people before they go jump in that role because there's going to be some days where you are on an island by yourself and nobody supports you. Everybody's upset with you. You know, they think you're nuts, especially if you're not just if you're going against the grain, so to speak. If you're doing your job, you're going to meet a lot of backlash along the way. But every now and then you get that unicorn through where everything's clicking and it's like, man, or that call that's like, damn, we were on fire on that one, and everything clicked and it makes me proud. But
Gotcha.
anybody that thinks that they're going to use the fire service and fight a whole lot of fires, there may be a few departments out there, but that's not the case. We're getting way good at the prevention side and awareness.
Hmm.
It goes back to the analogy I used earlier of the professional athlete. You're going to practice. should be practicing more than you ever fight a fire. You should be out there flowing water. You should be out there forcing doors, putting your gear on, pre-planning, doing tabletop talk, listening to some podcasts like this to maybe learn some from the mistakes that we've had, or the things that we've gone through, and just know that you can lead at any point in your career. Any point you can be a leader. And one thing that I read a while back was like, be the employee, be the firefighter that you would want in your crew when you're the company officer. Who do you want working for you? Because there's a lot of people that want to promote up, and they're real crappy, in the beginning stages. And all of a sudden, when they get those bugles, or they get that position of rank, then some want to flip a switch or want you to respect them. And it's like, I remember how disgruntled you were when you came in every day, or that you never even checked the truck out, or you couldn't do the station. Be that employee that you wanna manage. Who do you want? It was like I always said, who do you want showing up to your fire? And
Right.
do you want the version you are now, or do you want the version that you could be? And I had a guy that worked for me, and we serviced his response district for his wife and two daughters, and he had more experience than me, or more years of service than me, and he was kind of getting a hard time doing bunker gear, getting bunkered out and on air. We were running through some drills, and it was like, how fast can you do it? Because if we got to go in and pull your wife and kids out because they live down the road, are you going to be out here fumbling with your gear, or are you going to be quick? And that guy went from 120 seconds to 48 seconds that day. There was a shift just because
Mm-hmm.
of bringing that up and relating that to him. I hope that.
No, definitely, man. Uh, making this one, I figured that this would benefit, like, people who are in the leadership position or people who want to be future leaders. But I'm gonna have to just go back and watch this episode and just take a lot of notes, man. You definitely left us with a lot of gems and a lot to think about. So I definitely appreciate it.
No problem. I'm so hyper aware of like my faults. So, and I'm the type of guy that really I want to expose myself. If somebody can learn from my mistakes, so be it. That's what it's. If that keeps somebody from getting hurt or making the mistake that I made, I'll take that blow. I'll take that hickey. So